What the heck is poopin'? H2Hos and roller bros alike, I'm your guide Q. Welcome to 5 cringe stories from r/cringe. I absolutely love looking over these stories because it seems like the best way to relive the events that these people have gone through. Feel free to submit your own cringe stories. Keep them as spicy as you can. You can submit those to me at qsubs@gmail.com. That's CUESUBS@gmail.com. Just make sure you include if you'd like to remain anonymous or have a shout out to some sort of social media or just your name, and also put cringe story in the title so that I can easily find your post. Let's get right into these cringy stories. This just happened. I was outside of my house and ran into my neighbor. We started discussing neighborly stuff, roof repairs, the weather, the homeowners association, etc. Meanwhile, his daughter parks her car by us and walks up to stand between us on the sidewalk. I haven't ever met her and I figure she's just waiting on her dad to go inside. He doesn't introduce us and just keeps talking, probably thinks we already know each other. Several minutes go by while she just silently listens to our discussion. Turns out she wasn't his daughter. I just assumed that because she was the right age. He assumed that she was a friend of mine, again because of her age, and we were both waiting for the other to introduce us while she just stood there with the two rudest people she'd ever met, neither of whom were acknowledging her existence, even though she walked up to a foot away from them in public. She just wanted directions to a nearby park and figured we would be good people to ask since apparently we lived there. I mean, yes, this is extremely awkward and I would have died in this situation, but, it is a two-way street. I mean, it's awkward that they both assumed the other person knew her, but she could have also, introduced herself and been like, hey, I'm looking for this park. It seems like you guys live here. You might know your way around. Can you guys help me out? It didn't have to be this bad, but they kind of all made it this bad by nobody acknowledging that that person was there. I was in one of my classes where we have desks in rows. Without looking, I reached backwards into my bag, which was on the floor, and started picking it up when I noticed it was heavy and oddly shaped. I look behind me, and it's someone's foot. I was lifting their foot up higher and higher, and they were too awkward to say anything, so they just slowly started sliding down in their seat as I lifted their leg higher. I immediately let go when I noticed them and apologized. It was an awkward situation for all. This is another situation in which it takes two to tango, and the person grabbing the foot is so much less awkward than the person letting their foot continue to be grabbed and just ignoring it. All you have to say in this situation is, you are grabbing my foot, please just let go, you're accidentally grabbing my foot, please stop doing that. There are certain situations where you really, really need to learn to be assertive, and this is one of them. I work for a large non-profit organization that does a lot of community outreach, and our facilities are such that I interact with the public frequently on a day-to-day basis. Last night we had a meeting where one of my bosses was outlining how important it is to validate people by doing things like remembering their names. I happen to be sitting closest to her at the table, and she pointed me out to make a point, but she doesn't remember my name. Not that she just forgot my name, but she said, I don't know your name. I've been working there for 11 months, and I see this woman every single day I work, and she never bothered to learn my name. My direct manager was just sitting there, and she said something like, oh my god, and shook her head. I kind of tried to laugh, but then I felt so bad that I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. I just felt absolutely humiliated and invisible. I tried to distract myself by doodling on the paper, but the harder I fought the feeling, the more I thought I'm gonna start crying in front of all these people. So I grabbed my bag and tried to leave as quickly as possible before I started crying. Unfortunately, the door to the meeting room was a lot lighter than I anticipated, so when I opened it, it swung hard open and smashed against the table behind, making a huge bang, and I heard the people in the meeting room audibly gasp. I rushed out to my car and hopped down and started crying. I woke up today and thought, dear God, maybe something will happen and I'll die before I have to go back to work on Monday. I don't know why I got so upset, but her not knowing my name just made me feel 2 inches tall while she was extolling the importance of remembering names. And then my reaction and not being able to keep myself from crying just has me feeling like there must be a hole somewhere my size I can go live in. Yay life. Oof, this person adds an edit for clarity to explain what kind of place they were in at that point. This isn't how I'd normally act, but I've had a rough year. My grandfather died recently, and I just returned from an emergency trip to see my father in the ICU. I live far away from my family and don't feel very well supported here. There are other things going on here as well that have left me feeling pretty fragile, so this isn't just me freaking out over a single incident. This just hit me exactly the wrong way at the wrong time. I didn't want to get upset, I just couldn't help it. Sometimes emotions don't go the way you want them to, and stress definitely is cumulative. I feel as though this situation could have gone a lot better if it wasn't like the big boss at this person's company forgetting their name. They could have made some joke like, hey, way to make me feel important by remembering my name or something like that, you know, to sort of relieve the tension by making a couple people laugh in the room. But since it's the big boss, you can't embarrass them, you don't want to make them feel weird, you don't want to risk your position at the company, so you can't really say anything. And the worst part of this by far, in my opinion, is the door being too light and slamming open, because just in case you thought that maybe you could get a subtle escape from the situation and just be like, oh, I didn't realize how badly I had to go to the bathroom, so I rushed out of there, like, you slam the door in a dramatic way and everybody notices. Oof. Let me know what you would have done in this situation if you can feel the tears coming on and you know you need to get out of the situation but you don't want to make it obvious. I had an exam last week at my university's indoor hockey stadium. They cover the floor with insulating pads and add the seats. All the students were seated and the main announcements begin. No cheating, don't start until the clock hits so-and-so. You know, the good stuff. Then the announcer took a minute or so to tell us about the history of the stadium. This stadium used to be for the XYZ team, though the only thing left is the roof and everything else got retrofitted. So when you get back home, you can tell your parents that you've been to the XYZ stadium. Then he yelled, "Do we have any XYZ fans?" No response. The hall was so quiet you could hear the air molecules colliding. "Oh well, that has happened last week. Maybe we have some ABC fans?" Students. No response, but they were cringing and some were softly chuckling at the awkwardness. You thought it ends here, but no. The announcements continue. Absolutely no food in the exam hall. That means no chocolate bars, granola bars, chicken wings, even if you promise to share some with me. He then pauses for a couple of seconds and waits for reactions to his joke. Once again, no response. The hall was quiet than an electric car driving 30 kilometers per hour. I couldn't. I had to look away. Edit. To clear up, I didn't find the announcer cringe, I found the situation cringe. I get what he was going for and I appreciate it, but I guess it was the wrong time. It was a 9 a.m. exam, wrong place, and wrong audience. I really hope that the announcer learns from this in the future and maybe adjusts their strategy for dealing with early exams like this, or announcements for exams in general. I mean, depending on the audience, really, because a different audience could have totally appreciated this, have had it, like, release some of the tension in the room that people are feeling for exams, but that did not work at all in this situation. I was always the kid that when I saw an announcer or a presenter that was doing something for my school failing like this, or even a teacher that made a joke that wasn't that funny, I would always, like, give them that sympathy laugh just so it wasn't completely awkward, but maybe I'm doing them a disservice by not allowing them to learn from their mistakes. But at the same time, I've done a lot of comedy at open mics, and I've known a lot of comedians that have blamed the audience for their bad set and just been like, ugh, they just don't understand my comedy. So there's a good chance that this guy could have come away from this being like, ugh, that crowd was terrible. My jokes were killer. They just don't feel my vibe, man. They don't understand my sense of humor. I started a new job on Monday. My first week was going well until today. I was chatting to some dude this morning who told me they were going out for a meal with family tonight. As I was leaving the office just now, I said, "Bye, have a good weekend, everyone." Then to this guy, I said, "Enjoy your meal tonight," and smiled, and he just looked at me funny. I realized after leaving that it wasn't him that I spoke to this morning, so he must have thought I'm super weird or I'm trying to poison him or something. FML. Oof, I feel exceptionally bad for this person. I mean, they just started this job and they're already getting off on the wrong foot with somebody. I mean, enjoy your meal tonight is such a weird statement if you've never had a conversation about that. I mean, like, even if I said that to my friend and we hadn't talked about what we were going to eat that night, they'd be like, "What's wrong with Q? Why is he talking about my meal?" Like, oh my god, dude. I really hope this coworker gets home and he's enjoying his Hungry Man TV dinner and he's like, you know what? I really appreciate what my coworker said to me. I am really enjoying this meal. So just in case you forgot from the beginning of the video, the email to submit your cringe stories to me is qsubs@gmail.com, QUESUBS. I also just created a playlist today on my YouTube channel called Stories Read by QStar, which includes all of the videos that have stories in them. Some of them include posts as well, so just beware of that, but most of them are pretty heavily story-based, so if you want to watch just all the videos with stories in them, that's the place to find them. Also, if you notice a difference in this outro to the rest of the video, I literally just received my pop filter in the mail today, so hopefully that's making a difference. Peter picked a pickling pipe pepper. I don't know how to say the thing, but hopefully it made a difference with the way that my P's sound and my T's sound and my D's sound. I don't know. Hopefully it's not like crashing through entirely and not working at all, but let me know what you thought. Let me know if the pop filter is good. Check out the playlist if you're interested and submit your cringe stories to QSubs. Have an absolutely fantastic day. I will hope to see you very soon. Skate on to the best of your abilities. Make sure you're drinking more water, and I hope you have a fantastic day.